Hi, I'm Ethan.
Hi, I'm Jackie.
We are Plan Well to Live Well.
And today's topic is beneficiary designations.
When do you name a beneficiary? And why is naming a beneficiary very important? The main reason is when you die, the beneficiary designations help pass on certain types of assets to your loved ones, whether that would be your spouse, whether that be your kids, whether that be your siblings, and really a lot of people also donate to charities and many different things. Some of the most common assets would be your life insurance, whether it be the life insurance at work provided by your employer or the life insurance that you buy privately, your employer-sponsored 401k, your employer-sponsored 403b, possibly also your pension.
We know that it is one of the largest ways that wealth transfer happens to an individual. So it is important to have a designation. And did you know that there's two different types of beneficiary designation? We're going to demystify what people think about beneficiaries and how your policy can and should be set up.
The biggest wealth transfer in history happening currently in this country for the next 10 to 20 years, beneficiary designations play a vital role to helping families bypass probate. Probate means to prove, and most people have some misconceptions about probate and beneficiary designations as if, say, we need a will.
That's right.
And a will is something that is a very important, vital document. But a will is a roadmap directly into probate, which is basically court, which is to prove. So with this biggest wealth transfer occurring in this country, having the right beneficiary designations can help your family members avoid the probate process. And typically, depending on the type of assets that you have, some people have IRAs and some people have 401ks, some people have annuities, some people have life insurance. If you do proper beneficiary designations, normally it's just a claim form and a death certificate, and you file that with a particular institution that's holding the assets, and the assets can transfer directly to the beneficiary without having to go to court or hiring an attorney to help the families basically attain those assets much quicker.
So let's talk about a little bit of those types of beneficiary designation.
The default setting on a beneficiary designation is per capita. So per capita means that, I'll give an example. I like to use my family a lot as an example because it's easy for me to bring that up. It's me and my brother. I have 2 children and my brother has 2 children. So the per capita designation is if my mom or dad name me and my brother as their per capita beneficiaries. If I die before my brother, my share, say my parents leave me $100,000 to both of us, so my share is $50,000 and my brother's share is $50,000. Mm-hmm. So if I die in the per capita designation, my brother would essentially inherit the entire $100,000. So I would pass away, my brother would become the primary beneficiary, receiving 100% of the assets. In the per stirpes designation is I get 50%, my brother gets 50%, but because I have 2 children and my brother has 2 children, so if I die, my share will go to my 2 children, and then my brother will still continue to receive his 50% share of the per stirpes designation. Because I've passed away, my per stirpes designation is to my 2 children. So the biggest difference between the per capita and the per stirpes is that the per stirpes allows you to go down to the next level of bloodline family members versus the per capita kind of ends with the primary beneficiary.
Also, when a person examines their policy, so if by chance they're set up in a per capita beneficiary designation, there are 4 areas that affect a beneficiary. It's a birth, a death, a divorce, and a marriage. So if by chance you were to have that particular life occurrence, you always need to check your beneficiaries if by chance if your policies are set up in a per capita. Because those simple designations of life events happening can affect how your beneficiaries are paid out. There's billions and billions of unclaimed dollars because a beneficiary designation was not changed properly.
Now that's some good points, Jackie. And I will say I have like a couple of examples that are real life examples with my client. There is a situation where a husband was married and he had remarried but had never removed his ex-wife as the beneficiary of his policy. And I believe that was his retirement account. That wasn't even his life insurance account, his retirement account. He just never thought about it. A lot of people have misinformation. They think things happen automatically. You have to manually process a change of beneficiary form. So he had never changed, and when he had passed away, his new wife was not able to and he was remarried for almost 10 years, was not able to collect the benefits from the ex-wife.
Oftentimes, when there is a married couple and you need to designate the spouse, that payout is an income replacement, especially if you have a home that still has a mortgage, if you have children in college, and the other surviving spouse is dependent upon that spouse's income. An insurance policy payout for the beneficiary is so important in that aspect if you're covering expenses. If the beneficiary isn't designated properly, or if there isn't enough of an asset to transfer, then some instances I've had where clients had to sell a home or they had to downsize in their overall expenses and their assets to maintain a standard of living. So there's so many different circumstances and the importance of having a proper designation, and particularly if you have a family and you have assets and you're doing an income replacement, and if you have small children that are dependent upon your income.
The silver lining here is to make sure that you understand that when you have a life change, like Jackie mentioned, a death, a birth, a marriage, a divorce, it's very important that you have to manually make a change of beneficiary request from whether it be your IRA, your 401k, your life insurance, your annuity. There's a handful of financial instruments that require or that allow a beneficiary designation. And a very, very important point that I want to make: the beneficiary designation bypasses the will. So it doesn't matter what your will says, it will. A lot of those financial instruments that I mentioned will bypass the will if they have a beneficiary designation, essentially simplifying it for your loved ones.
And when you sign for your life insurance or you change your beneficiaries with your 401k, your 403b, or any one of those financial instruments, remember it is a binding contract. It is so important to have that review, especially if you have a major life occurrence.
So you might have your son, Bobby, listed as a beneficiary, but you've never updated his address, you've never updated his phone number, and you actually never told your son that he's a beneficiary, so he never knew to look for a policy. He never looked to look for your retirement account. He just never knew. So here you go, you pass away, and the institutions are responsible. Once they realize that you've passed away, they contact the beneficiaries on file. And if the addresses are incorrect or not updated, they go unclaimed, and if your heir doesn't know to claim your asset, they may never be claimed. And another misconception is considering contingent beneficiaries. The default is that if there's no contingent beneficiary, those assets pass to the will, to the estate of, essentially bringing the family back into the courts, back into the public forum, because a will is probated in a public forum. A will gets advertised, the estate gets advertised in the newspaper. It's pretty much public. So if you do not have a contingent beneficiary listed, then if the primary beneficiary passes away, the assets by default pass through the will to probate and becomes a public forum. So naming a contingent beneficiary is basically, I like to call it a backup plan, plan B. So if I die on plan A, well then plan B is someone else listed in the beneficiary clause of your contracts, whether it be the IRA or the life insurance or the annuity.
It's a simple process, just asking for a claim form from your various type of policy, whether it be a life insurance or a 401k or an annuity, and just simply updating that with the person's name, their mailing address, and a good contact number. Because oftentimes this money just goes unclaimed because the insurance company cannot get in contact with that beneficiary because the name and mailing address and or phone number is not up to date. All right. So, Ethan.
Hey, Jackie.
Thank you so much for today's conversation as it relates to beneficiary designation. If you have any questions as it relates to how your beneficiaries are set up, don't hesitate to book a free, no obligation consultation. We'll be happy to sit down and explain in detail how beneficiary designation works for your particular situation to ensure that your loved ones receive the biggest wealth transfer possible. And we want to make sure that your loved ones are taken care of. As always, we want you to plan well, and when you plan well, you live well.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll
see you next week.